Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Tea Time live stream with me, Charlie Landon. Today, anatomy of a house price crash. And I want to start by welcoming back all of my subscribers, all of you who've been watching me for a while, all of you who've been watching me for just a few weeks, but an especial welcome, an especially strong welcome to my new subscribers who continue to sign up day in and day out to the YouTube channel, and makes me very happy. I'm going to begin this video by particularly addressing all new followers of my channel. I'm going to assume this is the first one of my videos that you've seen. I've been providing technology and marketing services to the estate agency industry since 1999, 2000, roughly. So 23, 24 years. During that time, I have spent most of my working life building technology products for, and that's the back office CRM systems for estate agents. And I've had clients in that time ranging from the largest clients in the country, the biggest estate agency firms in the country, some of the best known ones, some of the smallest regional ones all over the country. Some of them who do like clients in Mayfair with very, very, very high value property, the tens of millions of pounds have been clients for years. And similarly, clients in parts of the country where house prices, they're selling stuff at £180,000. There is not much I haven't seen. There is not much I don't know, because during that time I spent, it must have totaled up to years sitting in estate agency offices with estate agents, sitting in board meetings with directors of large national agents, sitting in regional meetings, sitting in the sales meetings. I have seen it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly of estate agency from the inside. And it's given me, even though I've never been an estate agent, it has given me a wider perspective on the industry, because the software I was building provided estate agents with their figures every week and every month to see exactly what their conversion ratios were of registered applicants to viewings, viewings to offers, offers to deals, deals to exchange, because of course some of those fall through. And so I have lived and breathed and made my living understanding the deep details of how this industry functions and operates. And as a result, I got access to some really unusual information, and not only from the CRM systems that I've been providing for years, but also from Best Agent, which is my national property website. So far for England and Wales, sales and lettings, it's all properties for sale and to let. And from that, I also get what's happening at the asking price coalface for the whole country. The CRM back office stuff only gives me a glimpse, a sample of stuff. But the Best Agent stuff gives me the whole country. So it's similar data sets to the other ones out there, the house price indices you're getting from Rightmove and Zoopla. We're trying to interpret it into different, more usable data, because Rightmove and Zoopla are owned by vested interests effectively. And for me, the whole reason for this channel's existence is that I want to put movers first whilst still supporting great estate agents. So all of that is to say that I have been put, and before I got into this industry, I spent 3 years in the city as a qualified trader of financial instruments, derivatives, futures, options, stocks, shares, equities, bonds, you name it. I had an amazing baptism of fire into the financial markets, which has given me a better than average, not an expert by any means, but a better than average understanding of how global money markets work, internationally, nationally, the relationship between the Bank of England, the other banks, mortgage markets, all that kind of stuff. I have a broad but not deep understanding of that whole world. So combined with that, it's given me, I think, a unique perspective, because I don't know anyone else who's had the same background as me. What it's allowed me to do is to make observations of the property market from a point of view that no one else has. And this channel was never intended to be a house price punditry channel, and I have not been one of the conventional, typical house price crash forecasters. In fact, despite 20-something years in this industry, I've never mentioned it before this time around. And I want to finish this introduction with this point. The information that I give and the opinions that I give here are more observations than they are predictions. And that's not to say I don't make some predictions, but the way to think about the predictions that I'm making is if the housing market is an oil tanker, I can see from the observations I'm making today the direction and speed of that oil tanker. So within a reasonably near future, I can give a highly confident projection of where it's going. Not perfect, I won't be spot on, but roughly speaking, I can give a really. And so when people say to me, well, Charlie, hang on, you haven't got a crystal ball, how do you know what's going to happen? Well, it's because I know where to look today to see the direction and speed of that oil tanker. And not only would I know where to look, but I also know how to interpret the data. I'm not saying I know better than anyone else, but in my own way, which is what led me to where we are today. Now, again, for those of you who are new to the channel, just over a year ago, in February 2022, and you'll see it actually on my channel's homepage, it's still there as a sort of intro video. And this is when the channel I had like 100 subscribers. I gave a housing market update saying that I had just seen, and I've linked to the video in the description below. I gave a housing market update saying that I think I've just seen the first signs of the market turning. And I think I've seen enough to make me think that possibly 2022 might be the year, might be, not definitely is, but the conditions are right for 2022 to be the year that the house market changes direction. And that was not a prediction. Again, it was an observation of what I was seeing that day, that this oil tanker has started turning. Okay, that was in February. In May 2022, I could see that the oil tanker was well into its turn, and I put a video out on the Best Agent YouTube channel. By the way, it's come to my attention that a lot of estate agents watch this channel, and you're all welcome. I'm delighted. I'm flattered. In fact, I had some amazing feedback from agents I didn't know about this channel recently. But if you're watching the channel, please would you make sure that you subscribe to the Best Agent YouTube channel, which is where I put videos out just for estate agents. So just look for Best Agent on YouTube, you'll find it. Yeah, so I put a video out on the Best Agent YouTube channel directed at agents in May. It was the 19th of May 2022, and I actually said, early warning, there's going to be a house price crash. And this was just for agents. It wasn't for the public. It wasn't trying to get attention or get followers. This was me giving the industry from whom I have made my living for over 20 years an early warning heads up notice that I'd seen data saying that this was going to happen. I didn't have many subscribers then. I mean, we just passed 500 subscribers on that channel actually this week. In fact, back then it was 50, if that. Nevertheless, it was there, and I shared it on social media for my estate agency followers to say, it's just information for you in case you haven't seen it. By August, I thought, naively and wrongly, that most estate agents were aware of the fact that the market had turned. And of course, the housing market takes a long time. Okay, a rough transaction from the moment a homeowner begins the process about thinking about selling their house to the moment that they actually hand over the keys and exchange or complete on the sale of that house is typically a year. So a house price transaction from cradle to grave is about a 12-month process. And so that is the sort of timescale of which the property industry data is morphing. Okay, it's a slow thing. And house price crashes are slow things. And the subject of this video is the anatomy of a house price crash, the 3 stages, and the fact that I think we're just coming to the end of phase 1 and we're soon going into stage 2. And I'm about to go into that because I've got some, frankly, what I think is dynamite Bank of England information that is here to dispel any idea that things might be about to get better. So yeah, I was so amazed that I suddenly, I mean, I realized from one estate agent's comment on a WhatsApp group, oh my God, there are people who don't even know this is happening yet. And so I put out a video on this channel called 8 Reasons UK House Prices Are Going to Collapse. And it got attention. In fact, that video got 120,000 views, and it's what launched this channel. Now that video is aging well. All right, that was August 2022. This was 8 months ago now, 7 months ago. But recently, as events have played out more and more, that I was just reporting what I was observing, not making harebrained predictions, but actually just saying this is what I can see. I have got an increasing amount of both 2 things: an increasing amount of support and following from the industry, from estate agents, but also an increasing amount of anger, frustration, some fairly punchy attacks on social media, which I don't understand, because don't get cross with me. I mean, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. I'm not making it happen. I am not the reason the housing market has turned. So there's no point getting cross with me. And if you don't like what I'm saying, why are you watching my videos? That to me is like, if watching me triggers you into a rage, probably best you don't watch me. But I'm not going to stop reporting what I see. And that's what brings me to the topic of this video today, okay? And why I think that we are, in the next month or so, going to be transitioning from phase 1 of the crash to phase 2 of the crash. So, I mean, for example, I've already had people saying to me, oh, where's your house price crash, Charlie? 1.1% isn't a crash. 3% isn't a crash. No, didn't say it was. And house price crashes don't happen like that. They don't happen even in 1 year. They take 3 years, typically. If you go back, they take typically 3 years. But bearing in mind that this market actually turned at the coalface over a year ago, February 22, or I mean, it peaked at the agreed stage in May, which was reported in August. Okay, so the highest prices officially recorded were in August last year, but that was for transactions agreed prior to August, which is what I was seeing happening. We are now, and again, it varies regionally, and some parts of the country are further ahead than other parts of the country. We're now beginning to come to the end of phase 1 and about to start phase 2. So phase 1 is the denial phase of a house price crash, okay? And to this day, there are still people who genuinely don't think that there's going to be one. And I hope what I'm about to show you, if you're one of those people, might make you rethink again. I don't want a house price crash, guys. This is not what I want. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing and trying to give you the heads up. Whether you're a mover or whether you're an agent, it's useful to know what's coming. It affects you. So that's what I'm doing. Now, phase 2 is what I call the oh fuck stage. Sorry. I don't know why that makes me laugh. But it's when the denial, there's no longer any room for denial. There's no longer any grounds for denial. The writing is on the wall. The house price falls, or crumbles was the word I saw used today. It was quite a good one. I'll show you that later. The house price reductions are no longer deniable. And all of the people who had convinced themselves there wasn't going to be one, by looking for the articles that confirmed them, oh yeah, I found that bloke on YouTube, he said it's not going to be one, actually get that sort of wake-up call, that oh fuck moment, when the like, oh. And That is what I think is going to happen. Again, in slow motion. It isn't a moment. It is a sort of phase. It's going to happen in Q2 of this year, right? In the spring, summer. So April, May, June is going to be the transition from phase 1 to phase 2, the oh fuck. And then it'll be about another year. And then it's going to be the, bearing in mind that it takes you 12 months to sell a house. Okay. Remember that. From the moment you think about, oh, maybe we should be selling or we need to sell, the moment you think about we should be selling to actually selling, it's typically 12 months. If you're unlucky, it's longer. If you choose the wrong agent, it'll definitely be longer or not at all. If you're very lucky and you make very wise choices at your agent and you follow their advice, you might sell much quicker than that. But conveyancing times, as Carol Lewis wrote in the Times yesterday, on Sunday, are still 5 months in some areas. And that's mostly down to local searches taking a long time to come back. So if you're only just coming to terms with the fact that house prices are falling, and for whatever reason that means that you are going to sell your house, even if you found a buyer tomorrow, you've got another 5 months to wait until you exchange contracts. Okay? And during that time, we're going to be entering what I think will be the steepest part of this house price decline. I will show you why in a minute. Got lots of information to show you why. And then phase 3 is the too late phase. When phase 3 is when the opportunists start to sense that the bottom of the market is not too far away, and they start to come out and they start to buy stuff up, and it just starts to. So the falls begin up here. You know, the first year is sort of to there. Yes, 3.7% falls. Then you get the second year, it's the steepest, and then you get the third year where it sort of bottoms out and takes its time. And there's a couple of bumps up and down along the way, but generally speaking, that's the trend that we're looking at. All right, it's a tea time live stream unusually today. So I know people who are just at the oh fuck moment and just going, oh, we've been kind of listening, we've kind of heard the odd headline here and there about house price crash, we kind of ignored it because house prices never go down, they always go up. And there are a few people who it's like a little ting, 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 ting. I can sense it happening as people are going, oh, this is real. Now, even though there is still a lot of hope and optimism amongst some in the industry, and there's nothing wrong with hope or optimism as long as it's based and grounded in reality. Yes, hope for the best, be optimistic, but understand the cold hard facts of reality today, because otherwise it's just fantasy. So let me get into what happened. So some of you who've been watching the channel for a while, I have a friend who I call a character on this channel called Housing Stig. And Housing Stig is a very old school friend of mine. We've known each other 40 years. Who loves numbers. He loves crunching numbers. He's not interested in opinion or conjecture or speculation or forecasting or predictions. What he loves to do is to go, there's a load of data. That's what's actually happening. It's like he's on the hunt for the truth, whatever that may be. He hunts only for the truth, and he does not suffer from confirmation bias like most people do. And so I didn't even ask him for this. Last week, he went digging around in the Bank of England's data. And he discovered something that meant he sent me a text message over the weekend saying, you're going to love what I've found. And I'm going to start by showing you this. So let's just share this tab. This is a screenshot from his laptop of house purchase mortgages month by month, starting in February 2021, and resulting in the January 2023 figure at the bottom of the screen there, ringed in green. Now, let me draw your attention. I don't know if you can see my mouse in there or not, but this is what's called seasonally adjusted. And in simple terms, seasonally adjusted just means that they smooth out the peaks and the troughs. So that's rather than with all the seasonal things that happen, they smooth it out. And so this is the seasonally adjusted figure, and it's 39,600 mortgages. That was the figure that was reported for mortgage approvals in January, but it is the seasonally adjusted figure. And Alex Housing Stig thought to himself, I wonder what the actual figure is. So the actual figure is what's known as non-seasonally adjusted. In other words, the actual figure, there's no adjustments happened. This is what actually happened. And it was 39,000, wasn't it, adjusted? Oh, the actual figure is 29,000. That's 25% less than a figure that was already lower than December's, even with its seasonal adjustment. Okay. Now, this fact made Housing Stig dig deeper, and he came up with some graphs for us. And the first graph he came up with was this one. So this, I'll just simplify so you haven't got to read it all. This is a graph, a single line graph of the correlation or the relationship, how closely tied the value of mortgages that's given. So in other words, the amount people are borrowing each time. What is the amount people borrow each time? What's the average amount people are borrowing, right? That's what that graph there shows. And it's the relationship between that and actual house prices. So this is using Bank of England data for mortgage approval values, and it's using, let me just zoom out a bit here, and it's using ONS data for UK house prices. Now, spoiler alert, you can see the end of that graph, right? So as a correlation, what tends to happen when that blue line is below the green line, it's mortgages are going to pull house prices down, and when the blue line is above the green line, it kind of pulls them up. Okay, this is going back to January 2006, so it's a good 17 years or so. Now, what you'll see there is that in the whole of the last 17 years is the lowest as a percentage of average house price that mortgage loan values have been. Okay, this is not a metric we've ever seen reported on, is it? But isn't that a fascinating metric? Now, that graph has not been drawn by Housing Stig. He's just plumbed in the numbers from the Bank of England and plumbed the numbers from the ONS. Bang, there's the result. Now, to make it even, to make the point again, this next graph he did where he actually showed the line of relationship between housing prices and mortgage loan values. Okay, and what you can see, this again going back to January 2006, is that the two lines pretty much track each other. And the blue line here, so this is 2008. The blue line here came down first, and then it pulled the green line down with it. And they kind of track each other. Little spike there, which is where they think Help to Buy came in, which would have accounted for that. And that's where the line gets a bit closer. But still, you know, just bit of divergence, bit of convergence. And then suddenly, starting in May last year, look at what happens to the average amount each person borrows on a mortgage. Now you'll see that at the top, so the point is that is the biggest divergence in 17 years. That is an unprecedented divergence in mortgage loan value. So that, in terms of the oil tanker and where it's heading, if you understand the time lag, the timing, the effect of that, and just what such a big divergence on that graph means, then you will understand why that means that at least in the next few months or so, house prices are going to be pulled down sharply, further from where they are now. Is this my opinion of where the oil tanker is turning? Yes, but I can see it turning, and oil tankers don't change direction suddenly. And any hope that anyone in the industry has of, for example, well, maybe interest rates will come down, or we hope interest rates come down, or it's just pure hope. And it's like saying maybe the oil tanker will suddenly change direction. It can't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay, it's a very gradual change. House prices are not going to suddenly start going up again when they've turned this sharply, and where the underlying data is showing you that powerfully what's actually happening. Now, the other factor that I understand a little bit about, having been in the city and studied the economy and that kind of stuff, and GDP, as well as having been a small business owner back in the day, running car washing businesses and stuff, and like as a teenager, and knowing what it's like to be a real small business owner. Today, there was a story out on Sky News, okay, of hundreds of thousands of small businesses may fold this year, wiping 12 billion from the economy. Okay, this is a study done by website. It's called the Venture Forward study by website builder GoDaddy, and it talks about the owners of 1 in 8 micro businesses. So there's no government data for these businesses, right? But 1 in 8 is 630,000 businesses fear they will have to fold. Now, to me, this is the first time I've seen a story explaining what to me is obvious. Okay, because since last May or April, when energy prices, domestic energy, first jumped up, and then fuel prices went up, it is those small businesses that get hit first. And it's incredible. Again, it's another oil tanker thing. The economy has no chance of picking up when huge numbers of people in the economy have had their disposable income wiped out with no prospect of it coming back anytime soon. And that is a mathematical argument I've had with people, and I've asked for the counter argument, and they go, well, no, it's confidence. And yes, confidence is definitely a part of it. By the way, confidence is at an all-time low. I can't remember exactly, it may not be an all-time low, but it is like an astonishing 40-year low in confidence. So, but putting the fact that confidence is also very low, reinforcing the view of where I think the oil tanker is heading, you still got to have money to spend. Okay? And I think the economy is going to get worse and worse this year for small businesses and medium businesses. And that is going to affect house prices and rental prices, which are also going to come down eventually. I know they're not at the moment, but we've just, again, I mean, I think we've seen the first early signs of rental prices peaking and starting to come down as well. Very early days. Doesn't mean they're going to be big rent price drops anytime soon, but it does mean that the worst of the rent increases may be over at the coalface. I think, anyway. So, to my detractors, and if you're watching this because you don't like what I'm saying, who go, well, where's the house price crash, Charlie? I've always said it was going to take 2 to 3 years. And if you look back, house price crashes have an average monthly fall in price of about 1.2% a month. Right? That's the sort of average monthly rate spread across it. So you don't get 1 month when prices go kaboom. And if you're a first-time buyer watching this thinking, does this mean that next week house prices are going to be cheaper? No. I mean, yes, they'll be a tiny bit cheaper, but not suddenly. The affordability gap will take time to close. Now, as someone who wants to promote moving, if you are a seller, I want you to sell. If you're a buyer, I want you to buy. If you're an agent, I want you to be doing these transactions, because people can't move on with their lives if they can't move house when they need to. What needs to happen is for sellers and buyers to meet wherever the fair price is. That is difficult. And at the moment, there is a standoff. Even though sellers are dropping prices, even though prices are coming down, they're not coming down fast enough. And there are still buyers going, hang on a second, I'm not paying asking price right now unless it's a really sensible asking price, because prices are still coming down. And you know what? If I was a buyer now and I wasn't desperate to move, I would be sitting still and waiting. I would be out there viewing anything I thought might be of interest, just in case there was a seller, willing to drop their price enough to make it worth my while to move at the beginning of a price fall. All right. If I was someone who needed to move, there was urgency, non-financial, but urgent reasons to buy a house, I would be doing that now too. I'd be out there looking at as many as I could, because, you know, if you're going to have to pay rent somewhere else anyway, then you might as well pay a mortgage with it, provided it's affordable and provided you're not risking negative equity, which is why, for the benefit of all new viewers, what I say is if you need to move and you want to buy a home to live in, it's a great thing to do. So go ahead, buy now, just don't overpay. By which I mean, don't put yourself at risk of negative equity. So that means that you might pay at a price where you accept there might be some slight falls in price after you've bought the house, but you're not planning to move for at least 5 years, and so you're happy to ride it out. You'd rather be paying a mortgage than paying rent, and that's okay. You guys should still move, just don't overpay. It's hard because we don't yet have enough sellers who've seen the writing on the wall. But it's starting to happen. You're just starting to get sellers waking up now. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a very, very slow process. And I think that although overall transaction volumes this year are going to be down, I think that transactions will continue, and there's going to be a ferocious battle among estate agents over transactions. And the really smart, intelligent estate agents are going to be only listing properties that they know they have a good chance of selling. And they're going to walk away from silly sellers with unrealistic prices who just have got their head in the clouds about what they think it's worth, what's going to happen. And there are so many of those. I mean, it's a human thing. It's about 1 in 3 sellers have a completely fantasy. They've spent months building up this fantasy impression of what their house is worth. And they won't hear it from agents. I hear stories from agents all the time about people where, they beg and plead and say to the seller, I honestly, it's just not worth as much as you think, please. Like, no, that's the price we want to put it on the market at. Okay, goes the agent. Now, if you're a smart agent, you'll walk away from that and say, look, with respect, please find another agent. I won't be able to sell at that price. Maybe someone else can. Good luck. The less smart agents are still going to be out there just competing for listings at any price, and they're not being able to sell them, and they're not making any money, and they're wondering why their businesses don't survive. I fear there are going to be between 25 and 30% of estate agents are going to go out of business this year. Unless the ones who will stick around are the ones who've got really, really good lettings portfolio of managed properties, and your lettings income will keep you afloat in the bad times. The ones who are very heavily dependent on sales, if you get smart and move fast and only list properties that are sensibly priced and treat your buyers like your proceedable buyers like gold dust, you'll do okay. You'll increase your transaction market share and you'll be all right. The other ones who just keep on going, hey, it's going. I just honestly, it defies logic and understanding how any estate agents out there can still be going out there with the message, everything's fine, it's still going up. I had a listen to this. I've got to read this to you. If I'll try and put it on the screen quickly. It's worth reading out because it just it underlines 2 messages. All agents are not the same, and your choice of agent is critical. Let me just get this up on screen for you. It's worth it. I want to read it to you. No, I'll just read it out to you. So this is from Simon Stevenson on YouTube, who says, we saw some property. This is today. We saw some properties at the weekend via 2 different agents. One kept saying that the current housing market was positive and house prices look like they're going up, etc. The other said that house prices are falling, sellers are often unrealistic, fall-throughs are going up, and number of buyer inquiries is going down. Guess which one I am now working closely with to help us find our perfect home, and which one I have cast aside. I think it is just as important that estate agents are honest with buyers as it is with their clients. We can all see through it. And you can't form a trusting relationship with someone who you know is lying through their teeth from the outset. And buyers of a property are entering into a relationship with an estate agent just as sellers are. It's a different relationship, but yes, that's true. So, it's what amazes me is that any agents out there think there are people who are stupid enough to fall for it. And if there are, and stupid's the wrong word, right? If there are agents out there thinking that there are movers who are still going to fall for your lies, well, they might believe you, but it's not going to lead you to more transactions. It just doesn't pay. Honesty pays. So, a couple more stories I thought were worth sharing with you today. So this is on Bloomberg today. So NatWest's chairman, NatWest Bank's chairman, who was formerly the deputy governor at the Bank of England, told Bloomberg that he expected inflation to prove persistent. So this is for people who think that interest rates are going to come down this year. He expects inflation to prove persistent, and he said he would prefer the rate setters, in other words, the Bank of England, to aim for 3 or 4% next year. Now, he's saying that because he doesn't want interest rates to go up, because he thinks it's going to get really ugly. He says, if they really tried to get to 2% next year, not even 2023, but next year, then it's going to be unpleasant. They would have to raise rates quite a bit, and in order to get down to that, you've got to change expectations, and changing expectations is tough, okay? So there are a lot of people out there pinning their hopes on the fact that rates are going to come down. Well, they're not. They're not going to come down anytime soon. There's no logical, reasoned, rational arguments that rates are going to come down because inflation is not coming down fast enough. The next story I thought was worth sharing. This is on the Negotiator, an estate agency industry website, right? Rising interest rates, to force 1 in 3 landlords to sell up. This isn't new, but what was interesting was that this was a study by a buy-to-let mortgage company. What? Even these guys said it. And they said, landlords are right to be worried. We're seeing landlords coming off rates of 3.5% and being unable to remortgage because their loan is no longer affordable according to the lender's stress test. He added, unable to secure a new deal and with nowhere else to go, their loans are reverting to the lender's standard variable rate, which averaged about 7.5%. In fact, the worst case scenario, they're moving their lender's standard rates as high as 9.5%. So this is a mortgage lender. I mean, these are the guys normally talking the market up who are saying 1 in 3 landlords is going to be forced out of this market. That is downward pressure on the market in terms of prices. Another Bloomberg story, house builder gloom. Persimmon has warned that if full year sales continue in line with current pace, then it'll sell between 8,000 and 9,000 homes this year. By comparison, it sold 15,000 last year. That is a 40 to 45% drop, from one year to the next. Do not tell me that that is not a crash by any standards. Okay, that's transaction volumes, yes, but someone said that there is no official definition of a crash, but I heard someone say that a fall of more than 10% in a 12-month period is a crash. Well, in my view, the reporting hasn't caught up yet, but we have already fallen more than 10% from the highs. Deals that were agreed last May that were only reported in August, we are already at the coalface of deals that are being agreed today based on conversations I've been having with agents. We are already, on average, more than 10% down. Now, we won't know that until deals being agreed in March 23 are reported, which is not going to be officially for 5 or 6 months from the land registry, 2 or 3 months from Halifax and Nationwide. So we'll see. We'll see. One more story here. The Guardian. House prices are crumbling and so is Britain's faith. That's an interesting article about why millions can't afford to buy and millions can't afford to rent. And this is another reason, okay? In the end, affordability will trump everything, right? If people can't afford to buy houses, they can't afford to buy houses. It's as simple as that. And that feeds up the chain. Now, in terms of the wider economy and the wider financial markets, nobody should think that a banking crisis is impossible either. Whilst it is true that banks are better capitalized this time round, our high street banks in the UK are definitely in a stronger state than they were in 2008. That doesn't mean that there still can't be some quite big shocking failures. Today, this was quite a shock to me, the Swiss central bank, like the biggest loss in its history. That's a very unusual thing to happen. So that will cause ripples. And then today, I also saw this story in the Times, which is from Saturday, with the Bank of England saying, do not rely on bailouts. What? Well, why? Who's relying on bailouts? Why are you even talking about that? Why would the Bank of England even be talking about bailouts and relying on bailouts if it wasn't expecting some to be needed? And it goes on to talk about its reasons for this and saying there are certain things that it can do to intervene that will help stabilize the markets, but not at any cost. All right. So with all that said, if you want to move house, you should be able to move house. And there are 3 people involved in each house transaction: the buyer, the seller, and the agent. So to agents, I say, overvaluing and overpricing and being dishonest in this market will just speed up your demise as you end up with property on your shelf that you can't sell and can't make money from selling. And you know, there's a well-known veteran estate agent called John Durrant, who wrote a blog about this, which if you're an agent and you want to see it, ask me, I'll send you a link to it. And he remembers this from the early 90s when he started his estate agency and did really well. And he said he remembers agents just piling property onto their shelves that they couldn't sell. And he said he remembers that only list properties that belong to reasonable people who are pragmatic enough to accept the fact that the market is going down, because otherwise you cannot make a living. So agents, walk away from unrealistic sellers. Walk away. Just walk away. Unless you're working for a big corporate where they pay you a bonus to list your properties, I suppose you're going to do that, aren't you? Because then that means you're all right, Jack. You get your bonus, but the seller's not going to be able to sell if they've listed at too high a price. Buyers, if moving into a home that you own is something quite urgent, something you want to do for just to be able to settle into your life and get on with your life, you should still move now. Agents are looking for good buyers at the moment. And if you've got your finances in place, you've got your deposit, proof of deposit, you've got a mortgage, you've got mortgage and principal lined up, and you can afford to go and make an offer on a property that you want to live in, you should still be doing that. Yes, a lot of your offers are going to get rejected. Yes, you might have to look at lots of properties until you find one, but you only need one. And it is not worth waiting for prices to come down just to save a bit of money if the way you're living now means you can't get on with your life or you're in a stressful living situation. It's not worth waiting. Do not wait to buy if there are non-financial pressures that mean that moving into a new home now would improve your life. Move now. Just don't overpay. If you are not in a hurry to buy and you're comfortable, then by all means be out there looking. You might get again, right place, right time, you might get it. But if you're not in a hurry, then the beginning of phase 2 of a house price crash might not be the best time to buy. You know that already. But it is a false economy to not move if your life, it's like there are financial considerations and there are non-financial considerations. And the non-financial considerations is how happy are you? How much is it holding you back that you can't get into your new home? What is it worth to you to get rid of all those things and be in your new home and get on with your life? Okay? Especially if you're moving into as a home for the long term, move now. Just make sure you don't risk negative equity. Otherwise, move in now. Otherwise, if you can wait, it is worth waiting. Sellers, if you don't need to sell, don't sell. If you're thinking of selling because you want to cash in for the rise of the last few years, you have missed that boat. Sorry. My job is not, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to just tell it like it is. If you're only just thinking of selling now and you're not in the market yet, and you're thinking that your reason for selling is to crystallize the gains, you've missed that boat. By the time you've got your house in the market, had the few buyers that are out there around to look at it, the prices will continue to be falling, and no one's going to be paying asking price unless you price it really sensibly. So if you're one of those sellers who, well, I'll sell if I get the right price, otherwise I won't sell, you ain't selling. You're just not going to sell unless you've got one of those unicorn properties. There are always those exceptions, guys. There are always those exceptions. But generally speaking, if you've got a regular home and you think you want to cash in, that ship has sailed. If you're a seller that must move for non-financial reasons, you must move. You need to move home. The only way you will succeed in getting a deal is if you price your property just below where the best agent you can find tells you the market is. So that the buyers who are looking go, that's someone with their head screwed on right, and they'll buy your property. And if you get more than one competing, you'll still get the best price available today. The most important thing as a seller, the biggest decision, I cannot stress this enough, is your choice of agent. You choose the right agent, you can move on with your life. You choose the wrong agent, you're stuck in a rut. That simple. It is that simple. And sellers, do not, under any circumstances in this falling market, sign a long-term sole agency agreement. If an agent insists on that, it's because you have got too high a valuation in your head, right? An agent that thinks that you've got the right valuation in your mind, you're being realistic, won't tie you in for a very long-term contract. But do not do it, because if you sign up with the wrong agent, sign their contract, and then find out you're tied into them for 12, 16, 20, or 26 weeks, I've heard in some cases. And then they go, oh, sorry, there are no buyers at the moment. And you can't change agents because you'd have to pay their fee as well if you did. Well, actually, maybe you'd move as well anyway, but maybe you change agents anyway. But the point is, you can't change agents without having to pay 2 fees. So that's why. So you end up stuck on someone's shelf, watching the market disappear away from you as it falls. Right, guys. Just a couple of questions. Also, has this been better quality? Has my internet been better? Have I? Okay, guys, I'm just going through all this. I wasn't expecting that so many of you at this time of day. Looking for questions. You guys are all duking it out between you. God, there's so many. Oh, look at you. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through all the comments in the last 45 minutes. So okay, wait, okay, fantastic. I'm glad it's been better. Thanks for that, guys. That's good news. Jimmy Davis says, what if stock has remained consistently low in your area since the start of the year? It's a sign that prices haven't dropped yet. It doesn't mean that they aren't going to. Again, every region is different, but I think there might be some rare exceptions, but pretty much everyone in the country is going to be seeing a lot more property come into the market in the coming 6 to 9 months. Wow, great! Look at that. Tour Rhythm Golf. So this is someone new I haven't seen on YouTube before. Says, I am due to exchange on a property this week. I am selling. I took Charlie's advice and priced low, 5% below the market, and got 2 offers in a week. Price looks about par for stuff coming on. Thank you for listening. It works. Well done. I love hearing stories of when people are listening. Annie Anonymous. Hi there, Annie. You're very held back and unhappy, but the prices are still too high and need to come down. Annie, I think your patience is going to pay off. You know, everyone's budgets are what they are, but you know, it's going to get, the rest of this year, it's going to get easier for buyers, not harder. VIP says, unfortunately, overpricing is what most agents do to win the instruction. That is true. Sellers, listen to that. Most agents, but not all, most agents overvalue to win your instruction. And their skill is that they make you think that they haven't overvalued. And they are speaking to your optimism bias of, oh, maybe I'll be the one that's lucky and gets the weirdly high price for my property. And don't forget, all sellers think their property is special. That's why you bought it, right? All sellers think your property, it doesn't mean that it is. Agents have to deal with that all the time. And an agent can never say to you, look, I'm really sorry. It just isn't special. It might be special to you, you've got special memories here, you love it, etc. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same to new people. Any more questions, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. Jimmy, do I still think all major regions will experience at least 15% price drops? Eventually, yes. Julia Francis on LinkedIn says, that made so much sense. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. You're a newcomer as well. And nice to see someone watching from LinkedIn. Do we have any other LinkedIn? Anyone else? I love saying hello to new people. I mean, you're almost all of you on YouTube. There are people watching on Twitter as well, but you can't comment from Twitter. We get a few people on Facebook sometimes, but if anyone's watching on Facebook, say hi. Otherwise, guys, I'm going to call it. I'm going to wrap it up. That was a quick one. Thank you for your feedback on the 5 facts on Friday video. That went down well. I'll do it again this Friday. For anyone still watching, first-time buyers who are new here, I've got 12 spaces left in the experimental. Oh, hi, Neil Charlton on Facebook. It's nice to see people watching for all these different. Neil, are you a pilot? Just looking at your little avatar, looks like you're a fellow pilot. Yeah, I've got 12 spaces left in the experimental first-time buyers private member group that I'm starting, a subscription. The link is in the description below. I have 12 spaces left, unless anyone else has signed up during this video, which is very exciting. I'm going to be getting that started soon. And other than that, guys, that's it. Again, if you're an estate agent watching this, please subscribe to the Best Agent YouTube channel. Best Agent without a space. Just search Best Agent with no space on YouTube. Find the channel, subscribe to that. I do the breakfast show 7:45 every morning on Best Agent channel. Just a quick 10 minutes to start you off your day. Think of it like your morning meeting, especially if you're a self-employed agent. And guys, prepare for. Oh, here we go. This comment does bear repeating. As I'm doing this video, Zoopla have just emailed that prices are up 15% over 5 years. That is a pretty desperate story, isn't it? Pretty desperate story. Harry Burton. Last question. Based on crunch the numbers, what does Housing Stig feel is fair value right now? That's an impossible question to answer, Harry, because it's so regional. I will finish. I keep saying I'll finish. I will finish on this point. For all new followers of the channel, the housing market has 3 dimensions to it. It has location, the geographical dimension. It has property type, house, flat, bungalow, etc. Each of those has a different market in the same location. Houses will do different things to flats in each location. And the 3rd dimension is the money dimension, the price band you're in. There's the bottom of the market, there's the middle of the market, there's the high end of the market, and they all do different things at different times. And so it is impossible to give generalizations for what you are doing, where you're doing it, for the kind of property you're doing it, okay? But guys, thank you. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for coming. I'll see you soon. Estate agents, see you at 7:45 tomorrow morning on the Best Agent Breakfast Show. Bye, guys.